Ahoy, mateys. Welcome back to another Captain Patriot video. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Today, we are talking about trans people, so be prepared to be offended by my evil, my little grubby, evil, racist, bigoted fingers. I'm gonna get you with my racism and hatred and No, I'm just kidding. Actually, I'm gonna think about this logically. We're gonna work through this problem logically because I recently saw two articles that kind of pissed me off. As someone who used to be an athlete and who is now a criticizer of all things, because I sail across the seas of stupidity and I find stupid things and I like to criticize stuff, right? Those who can't do teach and those who can't teach criticize. So here I am. I am the criticism master. Okay, so we're going to talk about two articles I saw. One being the female athlete who found out she was going to be competing against a trans athlete in fencing, and so she took a knee. She got black carded. I'll put a citation here right now so you can see what I'm talking about.
Fencer Stephanie Turner was disqualified from a tournament after refusing to compete against her opponent, who she says is transgender. The official actually issuing her a black card, which means that she couldn't compete for the rest of the USA fencing sanctioned tournament at the University of Maryland. Turner went on to Fox News to explain her actions.
I was refusing to fence because this person is a man and I am a woman, and this is a women's tournament, and I refuse to fence on principle.
The other article being that two biological men were competing for the title of world champion in women's 8-ball pool. So these are the two individuals that I am talking about. They both identify as trans, and they were competing to be the women's champion of 8-ball pool. So we created a separate category for women to compete against women, to have their own ranking system, their own competition, rather than having everyone merge together, men and women combined into one sport. And yet it seems like we are moving away from that and moving more into the direction of having both men and women just together competing because we don't give a shit about women's sports at all, right? That seems to be the trend. That's, as an outside observer looking in on this, seems to be the case. Because we had the similar, right? So here's another example, right? Leah Thomas, right? Leah Thomas wasn't doing very well competing against the men in swim, switches over to competing against women, and all of a sudden seems to be doing pretty well. Stuff like that doesn't exactly paint a very good picture for athletes in general, but specifically for men transitioning into women, right? So already it's giving trans athletes a pretty bad name. And this is not me saying it to be true. It just is true, right? Because when you have men deciding to transition and then they simultaneously decide to compete against women, it paints a certain picture about you as an individual. But what happens oftentimes with this is that your identity tends to be heavily influenced by your gender, right? Your sexuality and your gender, right? People like this tend to make their gender or their sexuality a large part of their identity. And so what gets attached with that negative connotation is you as an individual is your sexuality or your gender or your gender identification or whatever. And so you're giving trans people a bad name if you are a trans person and you compete against people of the opposite sex, biological sex as you, right? So already you have people looking at this with a negative perspective because naturally it looks like you're being selfish or that you're trying to game the system in order to get some extra points for yourself, right? That's what it looks like. I'm not saying that's the intention. I'm just saying that's what it looks like from the outside perspective, okay? And so what can you do to remedy this, right? You can, fight for a separate league for trans individuals to compete against one another who are trans. That seems like a pretty reasonable option. In fact, that seems like the most reasonable option as of right now. Because the way it's going, the more we see stories like this, the more we see men competing against women and beating and crushing women. Okay, absolutely. Like women can't even make it into the finals, right? So now you have women taking knees, women who aren't even in the world championship for a women's title. And it's like, it's just like, we're not even thinking about this critically. We're not thinking about the long-term effects if we continue to go down this road. And again, it seems like more and more, we are just combining men and women's sports, right? Which doesn't create a level playing field for women. It's not a competitive, area for men to actually compete in. I'm sorry, like it's not. Okay, men compete against men for a good reason. And I don't understand why this is such a sensitive topic for so many people, right? You're hurting trans people, you're hurting women, you're hurting men, you're hurting literally everyone. No one wins in this. No one feels like they're winning in this situation. And yet we continue to do the same thing, thinking there's going to be a different result, which is like, again, the sea of stupidity, okay? The sea level is rising. Global warming is real, okay? The sea level is rising. The stupidity icebergs are melting, and the stupidity sea level is rising. And I'm like sitting here looking around, wondering if there's any islands out there that I can hopefully like sail my boat to, because like they're disappearing left and right. And it's insane. Okay, this is like genuinely, it is unhealthy to push this ideology when it's hurting literally everyone. Like, I don't think people understand that just like the participation trophy generation is a very real thing. And this is what you've created, is like a participation trophy generation, right? So you have like people who think just getting the trophy is what matters, right? It's like, it's not for the, it's not for the respect of the sport. It's not about, being a competitor on a level playing field and doing your best. And maybe you don't win, but you tried your best. Maybe you improved over a previous personal best. Things like that is what you should be focused on. You should be competing against yourself, but driving that force is everyone else around you. So you're all competing together, but ultimately you really are competing against yourself. Like, yeah, okay, you get a trophy and you might get some money if you're like at the top of your league or whatever, or, you know what, maybe that's the thing. Maybe there's scholarships being lost. Maybe women are losing scholarships to men. Maybe women are losing opportunities to actually have an income from this because men are coming into the sport and taking over, right? Like how are you supposed to sit there and say that men and women are exactly the same? And then when you put them together and you compete against one another, it's 99% of the time men who beat the women. Like, why is it we can't look at that and see that something is wrong? Where is the logical thought process behind any of this? Right? Like, it almost makes you think either A, everyone is stupid, or B, people have malicious intent. Right? Like, that's my issue. It's like, how do you distinguish between stupidity and malicious intent? Right? There's a lot of liars out there. There's a lot of people out there who want to, hurt other people or take advantage of other people. So how do you know which is which? How do you know what the actual cause is? Like, and this is what's so frustrating, is like, you can't have this conversation without someone being offended. You can't have this conversation without someone getting butt hurt, their feelings hurt, because they think you're being hateful by pointing this stuff out. That's the most frustrating part, is like, I want to have a reasonable conversation with people about this. I want to like be able to express my ideas about this without being shouted down as some evil monster. And if I'm wrong, prove it to me. I will gladly accept that I am wrong. I will willingly take any criticism of my actual logical stance on this. But you calling me names and being like, oh, he's so mean. Oh, it's how you said it. It's how you said it. It's like, that's not an argument, sweetheart. Okay, you're gonna have to do better than that. Like, I just want people to wake up and realize that none of this is actually beneficial for people. Young girls are going to have to be competing against men if we continue going down this road. Like, you're going to have people in high school who are not able to actually compete or even place or make it to CIF or league finals or any of that because men are taking over the sport. And it's like, why would you want to have men compete against women anyways? I thought the whole idea was to protect women, right? If women are a protected class, but you fail to protect them in practice, then they're not a protected class. Like, then we're going to just like act like everything's fine. Men and women are exactly the same. There are no biological differences. Men have no biological advantage in sports. Like, it seems like people have kind of just buried the lead. Like, people are just so up their own butts about being morally superior that they forget that we live in the real world, that there is an actual biological truth to the world that we live in, and how we have evolved over time, and how we exist, like from lung capacity to heart size to bone structure to everything. Like, it's just like, it's so weird that we have people saying that there is no difference, or treating it like, there's no need to have a trans league. I'm all good with you identifying however you want. I don't care. I don't give a dang. Okay. No one cares. No one cares how you identify. People care when it starts to influence or affect other people's lives. That's why people care. That is genuinely the reason why people care, is because it starts to affect other people's lives, whether it's their loved ones or them or they themselves, they themselves, right? It's like, I don't understand why we're at this stage now where we continue to make the same mistakes thinking something's going to change. And it's just bad. It's just all around bad. It's hurting athletes across the board, men, women, and trans athletes. And there's just, there's no slowing down from what I'm seeing, right? Why would a world championship for women, a women's league, have two biological males competing for the title? Why are we still having female athletes being forced to take a knee? Like, none of these rules and regulations, which are intended to create an environment of inclusivity, actually doing that. Like, they're excluding women from the sport. Like, you create this policy thinking you're doing a good deed, and then you see the effects, and the effects are negative. Well, great. Your intention was admirable. The effects are negative. What do? Do you do nothing, or do you do something? Do you change the rules, or do you not? Because either way, you're doing something. I don't know. Surrounded, drowning in stupidity. That's where I'm at right now. Anyways, I'm curious to know what you guys think about all this. What do you think about men being in women's sports? Let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, thanks for watching my video. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.